Mayor Peduto signed a controversial gun law into law this upcoming day. Find out more coming up.
A Point Park student who survived the tragedy at Franklin Regional High School is in the studio today to talk about life 5 years after the horrific incident.
And the Penguins lost their first game of the playoffs in tight fashion. Find out more about the tough loss later in the show. Point News starts now.
Live from the Point Park University Broadcast Center in downtown Pittsburgh, this is Point News.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Point News. I'm Noah Strackbine.
And I'm Nick Berlansky. Our top story today, Pittsburgh Mayor Bill Peduto signing gun safety legislation that was recently approved by City Council.
But this historic move isn't coming without a few challenges. Point News reporter Alex Linigan is here to break it all down for us.
A controversial gun legislation was signed into law by Mayor Bill Peduto this Tuesday. The gun safety legislation was developed in the wake of the Tree of Life synagogue shooting in Squirrel Hill last October that left 11 people dead. The legislation makes it illegal to load, brandish, display, discharge, point, or otherwise use an assault weapon within the city. It also bans most uses of armor-piercing ammunition, high-capacity magazines, and allows law enforcement to temporarily seize guns from people who are determined to be a danger to themselves or to someone else. The bill passed in a 6-3 vote by Pittsburgh City Council last week. Some of the survivors were in attendance when Mayor Peduto signed the bill. Although there are many Pittsburghers who oppose the legislation, and some legal challenges have already been filed. However, the mayor insists it is time for the community to come together, saying, quote, "Enough is enough," end quote. Nick and Noah, back to you.
And Pittsburgh Public Safety has announced the city is providing free gun locks to gun owners. That's something police departments commonly do, but what's not common is that they announce it on Twitter, as Pittsburgh's safety agency did earlier this week. Gun owners in the city can stop by any city police station or headquarters to pick up a free gun lock. Pittsburgh Public Safety also announced a video on Twitter showing gun owners how to properly use the gun lock.
Pennsylvania State Legislature paid tribute to the 11 people killed in the Tree of Life synagogue shooting by establishing Stronger Than Hate Day yesterday. It happened during a rare joint legislation session, only the third of its kind in the last 78 years. Stronger Than Hate was established to honor the victims of the attack as well as the first responders and others who were affected. Among those in attendance for yesterday's session were Governor Tom Wolf and Attorney General Josh Shapiro.
This week marked a tragic anniversary. 5 years since the stabbing attack at Franklin Regional High School in Westmoreland County.
20 students and a security guard were injured in the attack. And just 3 months ago, the suspect Alex Rival, who was 16 at the time of the attack, was sentenced to 23.5 to 60 years in prison after pleading guilty in the case.
We want to bring in Point News reporter Megan Masiosi. Megan, you were there at the time of the incident. Can you reflect back and tell us what you remember from that day?
Right, so it was very early in the morning when it had happened. The whole thing started around 7 o'clock, and it only lasted approximately like 10 minutes from what I had heard from that day. But from my opinion, I had gotten off the bus that morning, walked through the doors like I normally do, was waiting at my locker, and I heard this girl scream. Now it's 7 in the morning, you're exhausted, and I just was kind of like, why is this person screaming? It's so early in the morning. And when I looked over, it was the girl who was a couple of lockers down from me. She had been stabbed in the leg. And at that point, my mind was just kind of not registering what had happened, and then it felt slowly, but I had turned and surveyed the hallway, and at that point, it was gruesome. It was like a scene from a horror film, honestly, is the best way I can put it. And my body really wasn't registering anything. I just kind of stood there not really knowing what to do. The only thing that got me out of the building that morning was when the fire alarm was pulled, because naturally your body knows it's time to get out when you hear that alarm.
And what about the aftermath from an event and a tragedy like that? What was that like in the school district after that happened?
So right after it had happened, they held a vigil the next night at one of the local churches that we have in the community. And it was very helpful because a lot of people I think were hurting, not understanding anything that had happened that day. So it was nice to go see each other. And then they actually started, it was called FR Strong. And we had bracelets made, there was t-shirts made. One of the girls in my grade, her dad owned a t-shirt company. So they printed all these t-shirts, and all of the proceeds, 100% of them, went to the victims' costs, which was great because there was several victims, like you guys had said, and hospital bills, many surgeries coming after it. What was also nice was surrounding communities rallied around us because all of our sporting events were canceled till approximately the beginning of May. And so when we went to these places, there was banners of, FR Strong, Woodland Hills Loves You, for example, just places like that. And then what was really nice is the Pittsburgh Penguins actually visited some of the affected, like Greg, like some of the people that were in the hospital. They went and visited them, which was nice for them.
And what did you know about the teen who pled guilty, Alex Reibel?
So Alex is actually my neighbor, and he was on the bus with me that morning, and nothing was out of the ordinary for that morning, really. And he was a quiet kid, but I mean, he was normal. He went to Dairy Queen with us. He went trick-or-treating with us. So to people who knew him, it was a very big shock.
Well, Megan, thank you for sharing all this with us. You will be joining us a little bit later to talk about the weather, but we'd just like to thank you again for talking about this event in your lifetime.
Thank you.
And the USG elections were held last week, and junior mass communications major Jacob Berlin is the new president of the United Student Government. According to the Globe, Berlin beat opponent Brittany Arp by a landslide, tallying 408 votes, while Arp collected only 119. Michael Gieske, Dean of Student Life, told students in an email that this was a record-breaking election for student body turnout. In prior years, elections have been a week long, but this was only 2 days, making Berlin's win even more impressive. As for Vice President, Alexa Lake won by just 18 votes. Berlin and Lake will be sworn in before the end of the semester.
The clock is ticking because on June 30th, Highmark Insurance customers will lose access to UPMC doctors and facilities. But not if State Attorney General Josh Shapiro has anything to say about it. He's filed an appeal with the state Supreme Court asking for emergency relief that would push back the deadline. He's asking that relief be in place while the case remains in litigation.
One of our very own Point Park students could be the next American Ninja Warrior. In a Point News feature, Nicole Pampina tells us about Gigi Balsamico road to become the next American Ninja Warrior.
Ninja Warrior is it's a community, it's huge. I remember thinking, like, that's what I want. I don't play a team sport. That's the closest to a team sport I could get with the kind of training that I do.
It was 5 years ago when Gigi Balsamico fell head over heels for fitness. Spending her days challenging others as a personal trainer, she's now found a new challenge for herself, competing on American Ninja Warrior, a goal that isn't reached overnight.
When I was like 12, I think, was the first time the doctor pulled up this chart of like the healthy overweight category, and I was like teetering on the edge. I felt like I had to hide my body and like wear layers and sweatshirts, and like with my dad, like that's where it was bad. He would just say things about my body or my weight, or are you gonna finish that? Are you gonna eat that? And we look at it as portions and calories and numbers, and for someone to kind of put that right in your face as a 12-year-old was awful.
Fast forward to when Balsamico met her trainer Jason. He taught her what to eat and how to train. 2 years later, she knew she wanted to help others in the same way.
I was standing taller and everyone seemed to notice, and I would have loved to just push that onto other people.
Now just 20 years old, Balsamico submitted an audition tape in January to be the next American Ninja Warrior, an audition she just recently landed.
That's their way of saying, hey, we liked your video. That was it. And we think that you would be good. So you have to run the course, you have to make it in a certain timing for your age group and compared to others.
The next step is running the course in May based off of region, in this case either Ohio or Philadelphia.
Do you feel ready for any of those things? I mean, yeah, I want to say yes. Like I need to go in there with such like brazen confidence. I'll be like, oh, I got it. Oh, what's that? Like a water wall that's like shooting fireballs at me. I'm ready. And if I end up falling into the water, it's only 4 feet. I can stand. I know I'm short, but I can stand in it. I'll be fine.
On top of her story, all she needed was a memorable tagline to tie it all together.
Mine was that you can and are more than one thing.
We take our workouts very seriously in this house.
we're always trying to compartmentalize ourselves and each other and say, like, I'm an English major, so I'm a writer, but I'm a personal trainer, I'm a trainer. Like, I can't be both. Yes, you can. It used to be that I was eating too much and that I was overweight, and now it's that I lift too much, I'm in the gym too much, I'm getting too bulky. It's always something with everyone. And the thing is, like, when I look in the mirror, I see, like, the best version of me. I'm like, I'm a freaking superhero, like, I don't care.
After an up-and-down season, the Penguins made it back to the playoffs for their NHL record 13th straight season. See more about how their first playoff game went after the break.
Also coming up after the break, a new art exhibit at the Schumann Juvenile Detention Center. We'll be right back.
Go to our new website, uview.pointpark.edu.
Go, 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 go!
Join UView and find your herd.
Join EOP. And 3, 2, 1. Join EOP.
Grab them now, or else I will.
Yeah.
Join On Point with Politics.
3, 2, 1.
Join Pioneer Sideline.
Loneliest number that you'll ever do.
Welcome back to Point News. Thursday's winding down, so it's time to start thinking about the weekend.
But rain could put a damper on some of your weekend plans. We want to bring in Point News reporter Megan Masiosi with your weekend forecast. Megan?
Thanks, guys. Like you had said, Noah, it's definitely going to be a wet weekend. But the nice part is today is going to be the driest part of the day. So if you want to go outside, I suggest you do it today. It's going to be about 70 degrees, not too bad. But looking ahead to Friday, yes, it's going to be nice, a nice 76 degrees with a low of 53. But that 80% chance of rain is going to wash out any plans you had. So stay at home and watch Game 2 of the Penguins versus the Islanders. And on Saturday, it's going to be 72 degrees, a little bit lower, 49, because of that damp with the rain moving in, and 110% chance of rain, So you could definitely get outside Saturday, maybe do a little bit of yard work, whatever you need to do, because Sunday, it's going to rain. It's going to be a high of 68, so not too bad. You definitely can't go to the big screen, then it depends, because they're probably not going to have it up with the rain, but at least you can enjoy today and a little bit of Saturday. Back to you guys at the desk.
A Point News feature now. Nicole Fascino will take us inside the Schumann Center art exhibits that are going to be showcased in downtown Pittsburgh.
On the outside, barbed wire, security cameras, and buzzer doors safeguard the parameters of the Schumann Juvenile Detention Center. But on the inside, murals, posters, and paintings cover the walls. This has been an effort made by the staff at Schumann to transform the stigma from a jail for bad kids to a home for troubled youth. There's a designated space for the residents at Schumann to create this artwork. It's called Studio Blue, and it was created by Jerry Florida in 2016. Florida says that art goes beyond self-expression for the residents at Schumann.
Expressing themselves with no wrong. You know, in the art room there isn't a right way, wrong way, and it's the first time they're not going to feel anything punitive happening if they turn left or turn right or do something sideways. It was complete freedom that I wanted them to experience.
The Schumann Juvenile Detention Center, located in the Lincoln-Leamington neighborhood of Pittsburgh, temporarily houses youth ages 10 to 21.
One of the things we do try to provide them is the artistic outlets. So we do have involvement with a music program. We do have our artistic program that we really try to push and flourish.
While many people think of the juvenile detention center system as an actual prison that youths are sentenced to, Gordon says that residents are detained there on average of 11 days, just while their court case is in progress.
Some of it is extracurricular, some of it is fun stuff, and of course some of it there's a message behind it to try and make them better folks of society.
Last fall, Schumann residents were asked to create a collection of artwork and poems to display in the lobby of Pittsburgh City Theater, while the play, titled Pipeline by Dominique Moresso, was playing inside. The play Pipeline addresses a growing national trend called the school-to-prison pipeline, where children are removed from the classrooms as punishment, eventually finding themselves in the criminal justice system.
When you have a child that's in the public school or a private school setting and they start misbehaving or have behavioral issues in the classroom, there's always accountability the teacher wants to have.
This accountability can be in the form of suspension, where students are removed from the classroom. But schools are also adopting zero-tolerance policies that can make the consequences more serious.
If they become aggressive, they become assaultive to some of the staff or their peers in school, that creates criminal charges that could end up on probation and or in a juvenile detention center.
According to the American Civil Liberties Union, students suspended or expelled for discretionary violations in schools are nearly 3 times more likely to be in contact with the juvenile justice system the following year. When Honorable Judge Jennifer McCready learned about the Faces of the Pipeline exhibit, she invited Schumann to not shut it down, but to display it for even more to see.
Then when she saw what we did, it was kind of a natural connection to continue it and take it to the courthouse.
Yes, the Allegheny County Family Division Courthouse, where these juvenile cases are handled, will have this exhibit on display in their rotunda until April 26th, according to an Allegheny County press release.
It was a natural fit that we had this nice rotunda area at the courthouse, and with the partnerships we have with the different entities, we were able to just simply transfer it over there.
Florida asked the residents to create a new identity for themselves by using recycled materials, such as wallpaper, old artwork, or magazines, to create masks. They called their exhibit the Faces of the Pipeline.
I wanted the kids to be able to see themselves outside of Schumann, so they had to see themselves in terms of a brother, a son, a cousin, a father, a mother. You know, many of them have children.
She says that it's important for these youth to picture themselves in a positive light upon leaving the detention center.
Forcing them to say that on paper, making something in their mind tangible. It's the tangible aspect that becomes a reality.
So that they don't carry it around with them forever.
I have people that come up to me and say, oh, I was a delinquent back in whenever, and I'm thinking, that's not a stigma that people should carry. It's almost like a permanent tattoo.
Florida says the most special thing about the location of this exhibit is that it makes everything come full circle for the residents.
One of the beauties of the courthouse is this is the same building that the kids have been judged in. So now this is their beautiful rebuttal to that court procedure. And one of the kids said that he was a little bit nervous about being in the building because that's the building they associate with all the bad things. And I said, but you're not there anymore. Now you can experience the building a different way.
Residents could also include poems or personal statements. One poem reads, "I will right my wrongs. I will make my family proud." Another reads, "I just want somebody to comfort me."
It is their rebuttal, and it's done in a very peaceful, a very adult, a very mature way.
The Penguins are in the playoffs, and the big screen is coming back.
Plus, a Pirates player is on the bench for the next few games. Let's get a rundown of all the top sports headlines with Point News reporter Alex Lenigan. Alex?
That's right. The Penguins opened up their 2019 playoffs with a 4-3 overtime loss to the New York Islanders last night in Game 1 of their best-of-7 series. A late goal by the Penguins defenseman Justin Schultz tied the game at 3, but Islanders forward Josh Bailey answered with the game-winning goal in less than 5 minutes into overtime. Game 2 will be Friday night on Long Island. The Penguins started their push for the Stanley Cup on the road, but the team plays their first home game of the 2019 playoffs on Sunday at noon. Fans who enjoy watching the game outside the arena at the KeyBank big screen will be a bit of a change this season, as the screen is being moved to the opposite side of PPG Paints Arena across from Center Avenue. The move will allow for more food trucks as well as live bands to be part of the watch experience. Activation at the big screen hours will begin 2 hours before every home game during the playoffs. The Pirates will be without starting pitcher Chris Archer for the next 5 games. Archer was suspended on Tuesday for intentionally throwing a pitch at Cincinnati Reds first baseman Derek Dietrich during the Sunday's game at PNC Park. The team will turn to Nick Kingham to fill the rotation during Archer's absence. And the Virginia Cavaliers are your 2019 NCAA champions. The Cavaliers defeated Texas Tech in a heart-stopping overtime title game, led by DeAndre Hunter and Kyle Guy, who combined for 51 points. Virginia beat the Red Raiders 85-77 to cut down the net.
That's all for this week. Thank you for watching.
Point News will be back next Thursday at 2 p.m. Have a great week, Pioneers.